Hello and welcome to A Celtic World, the YouTube channel and podcast that unites the worldwide fan base of Celtic. And I haven't written a wee thing about from X to Y and from A to B, so you can just fill that in yourself this week. Wherever you're watching from, you're part of A Celtic World. And who's joining us? Who's part of tonight's show? Well, it's pretty much the main men, the big dogs, the big swinging contributors. Stephen is in Eastern Australia. Do people say it like that?
Nah.
On the east coast of Australia?
Not really. Yeah.
Okay, the main bit of Australia that everyone goes to.
Well, that's even worse. Yeah. So I'm here in Sydney. I think we'll just leave it at that. I'm feeling good. Just like almost every other Celtic fan on the planet. The good news stories keep on coming. And the feel-good factor continues, so let's hope it continues for at least one more week.
And have you been getting to know your new area, your new neighbourhood in Manly?
Yeah, I have. My son's been getting me into the benefits of cold water recovery. And, you know, the water at this time, it's not that warm here just now. It's pretty cold actually outside, but the water's especially cold. But my son, he's right into the gym. He works out a lot, so he's dragged me down for some cold water therapy a couple of times. So very invigorating. I think I might be getting a little bit too old for it though, but we'll give it a go.
Is this jumping into the harbour?
No, we've got
We've got a beach at Manly.
Yeah, we've got a couple of beaches here. So we've got these things called ocean pools, where it's like a kind of fenced off bit of the ocean, basically, just to prevent you from getting eaten by sharks, basically. And you can swim laps in there. So yeah, it's quite good. Enjoying it. It's great being close to the water. You can't beat it.
Seems to be taking years off you. You look very young, Stephen, all of a sudden.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right, Gav. Thanks.
Be that or the Botox.
Yes, and over in Western Australia, we have Paul. How's it going there, Paul, in Perth?
Yeah, excellent. I can't say it's cold here. We are having a unseasonably hot autumn. It's been mid to high 20s for the last few weeks, which is a good 5+ degrees higher than it should be for this time of year. So yeah, life's pretty good. Obviously, better still after the weekend we've all just had. And looking forward to having a bit of fun and a wee chat about it.
Yes, we've all had a big old weekend. It's true to say. I'm still recovering from the drink along. As you've discovered now, it takes at least 48 hours for me after I've overindulged. It's ridiculous. But the next day is a complete write-off, and then the following day is just a slow climb back up towards normality, you know. But I'm a bit tired, I've got to say still. Anyway, hello to everyone in the comments. Hope yous are all well. Let me just pop this on. And then I'll tell you what is in store for today's show. First of all, we're going to look at some of the celebrations of the men's victory, obviously, in the league, and also the girls. So that'll be fun. We're going to talk a little bit about the game and the drink along, the aforementioned drink along, both of which were proper professional jobs, I think you could say. Paul, couldn't you? You know, go in, do the job, don't let the side down.
Well, you can say that for the Celtic team.
Yeah.
The Celtic World team is maybe a bit more debatable, but we'll get into that in a bit, I'm sure.
Then we'll look forward to the cup final and indeed the summer, and then we'll end up with Celtic Social. So that's the plan. So, yes, I imagine we've all been drinking in the scenes.
Or just drinking.
Scenes like this. You see this drone footage? This is by Football Mad. You know that guy? I don't suppose either of us have been to a thing like this. I mean, this is a thing that's happened over the last few years more regularly, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel as if I've seen this before. and probably because we have in each of the past 2 years, it's been exactly the same. So it's becoming a regular occurrence.
I'd be there on the left, in one of those restaurants or something, with a nice bit of shade, access to a toilet, food. Those are the important things, Not down in the heart of it, clambering up onto traffic lights or anything. It's the obsession with clambering onto traffic lights. You're allowed to talk over this, either of you.
Probably just I would imagine the exuberance of youth gets you halfway up a traffic light or a bus stop, shelter. Wouldn't be. I was never much of a climber, so I'd be much like you, Gav. I'd be looking for some shade. I'm blessed with more hair than you, but of a similar complexion, so I'd be getting the factor 50 on regardless.
Well, it always strikes me as, where does everybody get their drink from?
I assume the office just sell them it, and then it's just in the
flying
street
out the shelves.
Yeah.
And then you stand around your bag of cans.
Yeah, your bag of cans get gradually warmer, and it's the kind of thing. It's an amazing spectacle, but it's the kind of thing to me that looks like it'd be good for an hour or two, and then after that's probably
I wouldn't
descends into mayhem, and you'd probably rather be somewhere else. But I think there's been a lot of commentary about this, and I do think they probably need to organise some sort of fan zone rather than just this kind of free for all. Glasgow Green seems like it would be a good opportunity. I don't know. I just think you probably want to bring a wee bit of structure to it.
Yeah, I think the common view this year was that it was all a bit contrived, whereas in previous years it's all been a bit spontaneous. And that's been, the view is what you're saying, Paul's correct. They should have some sort of organised fan zone. I mean, Glasgow Green is literally round the corner from there. You've got this vast expanse of greenery where you can do what you want without bothering anyone. You don't need to shut any roads. You don't need to, cause any hassle for the public. So I think that's probably the way to go. But I'm not sure if Glasgow City Council are as agreeable to that sort of thing as maybe some other cities are through Europe, but it's certainly something we should be able to do when your team wins something.
It's funny how the other side are reduced to complaints about rubbish and things. Reduced to annual complaints about how their rivals celebrate their victories. They seem to enjoy that.
Was it last year one of them was wandering around the pubs with a camera trying to deliberately provoke trouble and film it? Do you remember that? There was some guy trying to do that. Yeah, I think we covered that. Yeah, it was just mental. I mean, that's always going to happen, isn't it? And if you put that many people in that sort of environment with unlimited drinking, there's always going to be bother. You can always there'll be a fight or three.
Well, we'll get to the drink along later. I don't want to rush into that. Oh no, you're still talking about. Oh, I see. Well, here's the table. That makes for some pretty good reading, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Cruised it in the end.
Paul, talk us through the top of the table and then the bottom of the table.
Well, top of the table speaks for itself. We knew it was done last week, but the way the results contrived to finish, they dropped a further 2 points. We obviously got the job done despite going behind twice. Finish 8 points clear. 10 goals better off, and I think 1 point better off in the gap than when Philippe Clement came into the other side. So we also won the Clement League as well, which apparently had become a thing. So yeah, it just keeps growing. And Clement's record since I think based over 30 games is now worse than Van Bronckhorst and Beale. So they're literally making zero progress. I'm sure we'll get told they're coming. Wait till he gets his own players in, etc., etc. But the last sort of couple of months, 8-9 games. I think it was 9 games, 8 wins and a draw at their place, which we should probably have won that as well. 5 wins post split, something they've never done either. And yeah, I think 93 points stands up pretty well against maybe only Rodgers' first season and Ange's second season. I think beyond that, it's right up there as one of the highest points totals. So despite it being a pretty inconsistent season, and obviously there's a lot of talk over that course of that season about what might happen, boys got it together as players came back, and it actually was pretty comfortable in the end.
It's pretty amazing that's how the season has worked out, isn't it? It's hard to believe, Steve.
Yeah, it's but you know, I've been banging the drum all year that we'd be okay when we got all our team back. I always had faith that the manager would get us where we needed to be, and that's a very interesting graphic you put up there, Gav. But we won the league this year by more than we did last year and the year before. So, any notion that Rangers are coming, as they like to say, are getting closer to us or making any kind of progress, just is total nonsense. It's a fabrication. If anything, they're getting further behind us again, and you hope that over the course of this summer, I'm sure we'll talk about this in a bit, that we make that gap even bigger again. So it's really, really, it must be really, really sad reading for Rangers looking at that, because they really thought they were going to win a league this year. There was a certain point they thought they had it all wrapped up, and for us to end up winning it at a canter, really, must be tremendously, infuriating for them.
I was just having a little look back at some of the thumbnails on our YouTube channel, back in the dark days. There's the famous one of Ian saying in front of a red brick wall with spray painted Rodgers out. But that was his view, was that Rodgers should go. There was another snippet of you, Stephen, saying that you thought Rodgers had entered the end game and his managerial days were limited. I don't think you were, advocating for it, but you were thinking, look, I think that's where we are. I think he's out very shortly.
That was just the reality at the time, and I think at one point he was probably a game or two away from the sack. To be honest with you, I think if we'd went out the cup at the same time that we were looking to be drifting further away in the league, it could have been, the board could have decided to pull the trigger. I never ever thought that was the right thing to do. Even if we'd lost the league this year, I still think Brendan Rodgers is the man for the job. But it was at that time that was how I saw it.
I saw Mahesh commenting on the last video we did, I think, the last stream, about how Rodgers switched to Ange ball pretty much after the Hearts game, and we can debate that, but certainly loads of the goals have a sniff of Ange about them. The low crosses, how many of those have we seen in the past few games?
I don't know about that. I don't know about the Ange ball comparisons. I just think we've got a couple of decent wingers back in the team, and the productivity from the wide areas just got better. I think it's as simple as that. We got our full team back in the park. We got Hatate back in the midfield, picking out runs, and Adam Eady also weighed in with a good contribution. So I don't think the comparisons to Ange ball are valid. It's just the fact that we got our full team back in the park.
Yeah, you put better players in, and the ball moves quicker. I think that's fair. I don't think Rodgers massively changed his tactics. I think he wanted to play how he ended up playing towards the end of the season, but he didn't have enough quality personnel to actually make that work at the level it needed to. So it definitely looked a bit more like Ange, but I think Rodgers does want to, shift the ball quickly, play forward, make it, get in behind, play through teams. And obviously Stephen says when we got better personnel back in the team, that made a bigger difference. You asked me to touch on the bottom of the league, which we've kind of skimmed over, but there was a pretty, interesting twist in the tail right at the death yesterday, I think, or Saturday, sorry. I think Ross County are now in the playoff, and St Johnstone sneaked out at the last minute on, I think, the view of by view of having better goal difference. So I think they drew and County lost, and that point was enough with the goal difference to leapfrog them. So Craig Levein just scrapes himself out at the last minute. And I think that's Raith Rovers will be playing in that playoff against Ross County. And I would imagine we will all be rooting for Ross County to avoid another plastic pitch coming up into the league.
Exactly.
You get rid of Livingston and Kelly are ripping theirs up. It would be a bloody nightmare if Retro first came up with one, and now we still got to play on one.
If we can have a league without any plastic pitches, we can look towards maybe passing some bylaws in the game that you're not allowed one in the top flight. It'd become much easier if everybody in the top flight has got a grass pitch. But if you have one team that has plastic, then that becomes much more difficult. So you're 100% right, Paul. We don't want Wraith Rovers in the top league under any circumstances.
Here's Patrick McLaughlin patting himself on the back. I said in February our midfield will drive us to the title when they're all fit. Glad it worked. Okay, so maybe we could, I was thinking, admit to some predictions that turned out to be complete and utter horseshit. I've got a couple of good ones. I remember saying that by Christmas, Palma and Tilio are going to be tearing it up the wing, providing loads of goals. Palma and Tilio. And I also boldly predicted that Iwata would be surplus to requirements by the end of the season. Would be considered complete empty jersey and be offloaded. Is that giving you some thinking time there to come up with any of your own, gentlemen? And in the comments, if you got anything badly wrong, now is the time.
I actually said that after we lost to Hearts at Tynecastle, I thought it was Iwata's last game for Celtic, and I think I said as much. He would, to be fair to me, he was pretty awful in that game, and ended up getting hooked. But obviously, that was just complete and utter nonsense. So yeah, I'll hold my hands up to that one.
I can't think of an absolute howler, but elsewhere, I think I did say when Beale was still in situ and we went however many points we went away after 7 games a season on another channel that we're all aware of. I was boldly calling the league after 7 games, so that was a tad premature, although we did get there in the end.
Very good. John Clements, we forgive you, Gav. That was when you had hair. If only. If only that were true. But, it's fine. What about, Paul, you always like to champion the women's game?
Indeed. They left it late, very late. And by all accounts, I didn't watch the game. It was after the drink along in general and all the excitement we've had over the last few days. I wanted an early night, and I think kickoff wasn't until after 9 p.m. here. So I sort of kept my eye on the first half loosely in terms of the commentary, but didn't watch it. I was asleep before the game finished, and I woke up to the great news that we'd managed to win the title. But by all accounts, I think the pressure sort of got to the team, and relatively early they were sort of resorting to not really playing their football, because they have been a football inside, but they were sort of rushing things and sort of went long a bit early and stuff like that, and it all just seemed a bit like they'd sort of potentially run out of ideas. But as Celtic teams tend to do, if you know your history, and we all know our history, is the one thing Celtic teams do is they go to the death. And Amy Gallagher, who's been brilliant all season and was the top goal scorer already, managed to dig one out right at the death. And live up to the family history and stick one in on the 90th minute. So that was sickened the opposition. Apparently Hibs played pretty well, and the goal difference was so good. I think we were 16 goals plus before the game, so it would have taken a ridiculous swing on the day. So really, 3 points would guarantee the title, and in the end, that 1-0 victory was enough to do it. So yeah, well paid to the women's team. Cracking result, their first ever women's title, and hopefully the first of many.
So does that mean we're still on for a treble, effectively, this season? Can we call it that, Steve?
I think we can claim that, yeah. I heard them. I didn't watch the game myself either. I think it was a midnight kickoff here in Sydney, but it was all live on Celtic TV, and I did hear that Celtic TV carried on with their usual high broadcasting standards, and it was freezing every 5 minutes. So I know a number of people tried to watch it here and just gave up because it was just unwatchable at times. But yeah, great to see the women's team getting the trophy on the same weekend as the men's team, and it's a testament to how hard they've worked. That the women's team really has been underinvested in by Celtic, but they've got themselves to the pinnacle of the Scottish game despite that. So I'm very excited to see what they can do if there's proper investment, and including the men's team and the women's team, to see how far we can actually go with both. Because I think there's definitely scope for them to improve, and then they've showed that there's quality there.
The other thing about the women's team is there is an underinvestment, and the knock-on effect of that underinvestment is there's a massive. We think there's a major turnover on the men's team year on year, but there's a massive turnover in the women's game because they're on shorter contracts, and if they get good offers from elsewhere, they're off. So we've seen key talent leave. So yeah, you hope that this leads to like I said, there's plenty of offers in the plenty of cash in the coffers for both the male and the female game. So you'd like to think that there would be a bit further investment and hopefully retain some of the better players and add to that squad.
Well, you mentioned the coffers. Let's hope 420 somewhere isn't a coffer as he blazes on a fat one in the name of the Celtic world. That's nice. Yeah. Got to be happy with that. All right, so let's run through some of the highlights of the game, then, shall we? Mostly just the goals. I mean, when you look back at games, it's always with a view to improving and, what things they need to work on. And, of course, all that goes out the window at this stage of the game. It's just what happened. Wasn't it fun? So let's see what happened. 7 minutes is the first incident. Stephen, you can talk to us about this. Ball high in the air just outside the 6-yard line. Hart stays in his line. Eventually it falls to O'Hara, who drills it home.
Yeah, so it came from a long throw-in from Bacchus, the Australian, and it was a tactic St Mirren employed all day, and one which we never really dealt with at all. This was a pretty disappointing goal to lose, and pretty instructive of the fact that we changed 3 of the 4 back line. No one. What annoyed me was no one really, showed the desire to clear the ball out of there. You're just looking for someone to come through bodies and get a head on that and get it out of the box. But no one did. It fell. Callum McGregor tried to get a head on it, but he wasn't strong enough and got nudged off the ball, and it fell to O'Mara, I think. And he's tucked it away nicely, but poor defensive goal to lose.
You're saying like one of the defenders to come flying through there and claim it, but as a young lad, being a big lump, I was always stuck in central defence. And when a ball goes up that high, that close to goal, you're going to get a shout from the keeper who's going to come wading out, sailing through the air, arms aloft, and neutralise the danger. That didn't happen, obviously, because Joe Hart doesn't do anything like that. I know we all love him, and you can't say a bad word against him and all that. It makes you cry. But as I've said multiple times on various streams, I really hope our next goalkeeper is an active doer of things. In that sense, Paul, time for your rebuttal.
No rebuttal. In an ideal world, your goalie would come and do that. It just seems, as I've said before, many months ago, Hart's never really done it, but I think there's a trend that keepers, they don't dominate the 6-yard box like they used to. So if you can find one that comes and catches, brilliant. Most come and punch these days. A lot come and flap and miss, and a bigger chunk just stay where they're at and leave it to the defense to deal with. So yeah, I'm 100% in agreement. I would like a goalkeeper to dominate the box, but the defense should deal with it. The header from Nawrocki that just goes straight up in the air is just shit, and just generally, I said in one of the group chats, I don't know if it was our one or another one I'm in, that Welsh and Nawrocki did a good. They give a good example of why Scales has kept the jersey for as long as he has this season. They were both really poor. And you've got this as the first incident. For me, the first major incident was Stephen Welsh should have scored. Prior to that, he had a header from about 4 yards out, and he contrived to miss the target. And then his day didn't get much better because he was a statue here, and I'm sure you'll show us the clip in a bit, a screenshot of how the second goal we lost went in a bit.
Well, I think I don't have every incident, like I say, not every sort of moment, just the goals and the key passes, I think, to the goals. So this is 20 minutes, Matt O'Reilly's goal. Just sort of fell to him, didn't it, quite nicely after Kyogo had his back to goal. He lashed at it like with the confidence of a man who knows he's going to the bright lights of Brentford or somewhere. Talk us through that. We'll get into Matt O'Reilly later, but nice finish.
Well, I think the ball comes through. I think, to be fair to Welsh, I just had a go at him, but I think he plays a progressive pass into Hatate. Hatate quickly knocks it off to O'Reilly. And O'Reilly, I think, heads it into Kyogo. Kyogo is doing his best to sort of get it under control with his back to goal, and he just takes one touch, and then Gogic sticks his napper on it and knocks it away from Kyogo. But as you say, straight into the path of Matt O'Reilly, and he dispatches it with aplomb, as he has been known to do in recent weeks. And yeah, it was just another one to add to the collection. I think that put him to the 19 goals, one ahead of our awarded goal scorer at the Celtic Awards last week of top goal scorer of Kyogo at the time. So that was an interesting little twist in the tail at that point, but all's well that ended well.
Twists in the tail. That's the theme for tonight. 24 minutes penalty against Welsh. What did you think of this, Stephen? Absolutely outrageous.
Yeah, it was just a disaster class of awful defending by Welsh, and just getting back to what Paul said a minute ago, it probably shows you why Liam Scales has played so many games this season. He's misjudged the flight of a ball. It's bounced over his head. The St Mirren players got in, and in an attempt to get back goal side of him, he's kind of bundled into the side of him. You know, I'm not 100% sure it was a Stonewall penalty as everyone was making out. I understand why it was given, but I think it was a little bit soft. But you know, no real complaints. It was Welsh's mistake that put him in that position, and you know, I think it just sort of highlights the problem at Celtic at the moment is we've got a really good first team, but just below that, the quality level drops off very steeply, and that's which caused us most of our problems this season. So I don't think Welsh has probably not got a future in the Celtic first team squad, bar filling in occasionally for cup games. And I think that sort of underlined what was a pretty unhappy day for him, ending up going off with a shoulder injury later on.
Nice penalty though, Paul.
Yeah, O'Hara is a good finisher, as he showed. He's taken good penalties, I think, for a few years now. And he's a solid midfielder. He does a good job. He's in his late 20s now. He's tucked it away nicely. But yeah, I think to Stephen's point, I think he's right. It's softer than a lot of commentators were suggesting. There's minimal contact, but there is contact. I think it's one of those that if the ref on the field decided it was soft and the guy had made the most of it and not given it, I think it would have been hard pushed to be overturned by VAR. But once he's given it, VAR's never going to overturn it because there's clearly contact and the lad goes down. And we've talked here often enough about once there's contact in the box, you're entitled to go down and it should be given.
36 minutes, Hatate forward run down the right wing. Look at all that beautiful space opening up in the middle as Kyogo runs through. Can you tell what it is yet? You know,
this is absolute class. I think the ball. So the way the move starts is brilliant. You can see there the distance Kyogo and Hatate are apart already, and obviously Kyogo finds himself on the edge of the 6-yard box to tuck it away eventually, and it's a brilliant ball in from Hatate. But basically, they're about 2 yards apart at the start of this move. Ball comes into Kyogo with his back to goal, and he just does a little knock off to Hatate, and after that, he is on his bike, and this is where we see him. He's tearing in, and this is the kind of thing that will get compared to Ange Ball, because this is classic Ange Ball. Player gets wide, and Kyogo tears into the area. It's a brilliant ball by Hatate, and then it's a classic Kyogo finish. But yeah, it was a great goal. But the movement from Kyogo is absolutely brilliant, and Hatate just puts it on a plate for him. He doesn't have to break stride.
I was right behind that goal, says Patrick McLaughlin, and screaming, cross it at this point. Very good.
And that took him to 19, so he retained the top goal scorer jointly with Matt O'Reilly. And I think there was a post-match interview. Matt O'Reilly said, was there a bit of rivalry on it? And not at all. Not at all. Matt was his usual humble, eloquent self.
He wanted Kyogo to get it. And then the only other still I have from the game is the last goal. Palma finish after a lovely cross from Ralston. Stephen, the brickie comes through.
Yeah, I mean, one thing you can't level against Anthony Ralston is he's got a decent cross on him. He's done that a number of times this season when he's been in the team, and he's never let anyone down. He's a solid right back, and I really hope that the news that Aaron Hickey is injured and isn't going to make the Scotland squad for the Euros. I'm hoping that means that Anthony Ralston will be included, because it'll be a great benefit for him at the end of what's been a really good season for him. This goal came from really good play from Matt O'Reilly again. Gets the ball, does a little back heel, which puts Ralston in, and he takes it first time and early, which kind of doesn't give a defensive line that time to set. And Palmer's held his line, stayed on side, and got in really well at the back post, and it's a really tidy finish from him. Great to see another wide player getting in between the goalposts and getting on the end of something. It's been a characteristic of the latter part of the season for us. We've seen a number of goals scored like that, and it's something we really were missing all season long. And I was happy for Palmer. He's had a difficult season. He's been up and down. He's had a lot of criticism. He's disappeared out of the team for a bit, but he got a chance there, and I thought he worked really hard. Not everything came off for him, but it was nice to see him getting the reward with a goal.
Do you think this might be an omen for what happens next season, that our final goal scorer, Paul, was Luis Palma? Is he going to tear it up next season without Tilio?
I don't know. Like, he's had a mixed season. Basically, he had a really good start. Even the first half of the season, yes, it was mixed in terms of how his performances looked, but a bit like I compared him to Abada in terms of output. Abada didn't always look great, but his numbers were brilliant, and that's what pretty much Palma delivered in the first half of the season. And then he got that injury, and he never really got back up to speed, and he didn't get consistently back in the team. I know Mahesh has told us umpteen times that certainly in the first half of the season, Palma was the player that had the best output in the team. Probably says a lot about who was missing, but my issue with, I think, he's inconsistent. I think he's also, and I've seen this leveled on by multiple people, I think he's not as good a team player as I would like him to be. I think he plays a bit for the camera and for himself a lot of times, right? I saw a few people saying his corners were the best corners we've seen for a long time. I think he's trying to score every time, and that plays again to that, that ego of, can I score from a corner?
He has done it a couple of times in his career. They're on his highlights reel, aren't they?
Well, I'm sure it is, but does that mean he has to try it every single time? Just
no,
find
it doesn't.
Find a teammate. I think there's a player there. Whether he's good enough to be consistently Celtic's first choice winger, I like, as long as Maeda's there, he's not going to knock him out of the team. And if you want to take the team to the next level, you've got to potentially find somebody better than Maeda, and I don't know if you can do that on the budget that we've got. So he's probably going to be a backup for the foreseeable, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's players that have been literally signed in the last 12 months that are on their way out the door come the summer. I'm not suggesting he's definitely going to be one of those, but I think there will be a reasonable turnover of the sort of what Stephen's talking about, the next level after the first 11. I think there'll be a reasonable turnover there.
An exodus of Koreans. Oh, that's not what I'm meant to be showing you yet, am I? No. Well, we'll talk about that later. There was a video. That's it. There's a video. Anyone know what was happening here? Oh, here. No. You probably saw this. Joe Hart goes down and he says something and everyone laughs their heads off.
Yeah.
and then somebody dubbed over it. But what might he be saying, do you think? Look how funny it was. Anybody know? Any lip readers out there?
Nah.
What's your
No
best guess,
idea.
Stephen?
I would say it's something. He's probably said something self-deprecating, or like he's ruined my chance to score on my last game, or something. I don't know, something silly. That or an in joke in the team, and yeah, he's definitely. And it looks like he was sort of pretend angry, and it's probably been delivered.
Yeah, I think it was probably something along the lines of how dare they substitute me? I'm the crowd's favourite or something like that.
Yeah.
Or it may have been we better watch that Scott Bain doesn't throw one in the net.
If it was that, that's a bit naughty. If it was that, but it's certainly what most of us were probably thinking. Like, it was still 3 minutes to go. Yeah, I've just noticed. Sorry, I've just noticed that Monty thinks I'm posh.
Oh, really?
Where is it you're from? You're not from Cowdenbeath. Is Cowdenbeath posh?
I wouldn't have thought so. Although my favourite thing about Cowdenbeath is they're known as the Blue Brazil, which I thought was, again, speaking of self-deprecating and nonsense. I am not from Cowdenbeath. I am, and the posh voice from where I'm from is pretty hilarious. I'm from the Broch, which is Fraserburgh in Aberdeenshire originally, but I have been
Moray Firth.
In Buchan, actually, in Buchan. So deepest, darkest Aberdeenshire. But yeah, I've been gone a long time. Aberdeen, then Leeds, and now Perth, London for a couple of years. So I just kept moving further south.
Where did you live in London?
Wandsworth, common in town across 2 different stints. But yeah, southwest.
Very good. Okay, interesting. That was just a little aside. We could have had that little exchange off air. But we don't mind talking a wee bit of personal crap here. And indeed, we did plenty of that on the drink along. What was your experience of the drink along, Paul? You enjoy it? This is where we watched the game. There was a whole bunch of us on, 4 of us, 5 of us at some times. People dropping in and out, getting increasingly drunk. Do you know how long the live stream lasted for?
4 hours 20, I think. We
4 hours 20 minutes. I mean, that's insane. But it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, so I was only dipping in and out, essentially because I was streaming the game off the laptop, so I couldn't be sat in front of it. So I was on my phone, which holding the phone for any more than 10-15 minutes is a bit of a pain in the backside, especially when you're trying to drink at the same time. But yeah, I popped in at the beginning. I think I was trying to get in at halftime. Everybody gone for a pish, including you, Gavin. You were in control, so I just sat around waiting to come in at halftime. And then I joined post-match and I was mid-flight. I was mid-discussion when my phone died. I hadn't charged it for a while, and it just died. I thought, I'll try and charge it and log back in. And then I was like, I can't be bothered. I went to bed. So I did actually tune in to you guys signing off just as you were about to finish. I think Jerry came in, didn't he? So that dragged it out for another 10 minutes or so. But it was good crack. Like, for me, I would find it frustrating watching the whole game. Like, for the times I was in and the game was actually on, I wasn't really concentrating on the game, which was kind of,
yeah.
I like to watch the match, and obviously the other major frustrating thing is everybody's streams are at different times, and mine was about close to a minute behind the folk that had it going the fastest. So yeah, it was.
Well, you're really selling it to the people there, Paul. If you love the sound of that out there joining us, where there's a bunch of people.
Oh, I think if you're sitting somewhere on your own,
trying to enjoy the game.
If you're sitting somewhere on your own and you want to hear some general chit chat at the same time with other fans, then I'm sure it's great. But if you want to actually concentrate on the game and not have spoilers, then you're probably best watching on your own.
There you go. There's the one of the most frequent comments we've received all season. Huh?
Yeah, I will. There's worse
Danny
people to be compared to.
Danny McGrain and Rambo. That's the 2 you get.
That's right. Yeah. I don't know. Is that a question? What am I doing in Australia? Is that an inquiry?
No, I don't think he really wants to know how you allocate your time. Very good. What's that supposed to mean? What is that supposed to mean? Am I the guy from Little Britain? No.
Is
Which one?
that guy?
The only
Maybe
guy
the
in
guy
the
in the
village?
wheelchair.
The only
The only
guy
guy in the
village.
village. Probably the one in the wheelchair. Would you not be? What's he called?
I want one. I want one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
one
him.
that one. I know.
Andy. No,
He's
Andy.
bald.
It's Andy.
Andy, yeah, because he's bald with his feet over anyway. He's probably him.
Craig White's a legend. Yes, he was talking about me, but it'll have to remain a mystery. Who from Little Britain I'm supposed to be? Jesus.
10 Rillington Place is getting a run again.
What's that? Oh no.
10 Rillington Place.
A movie that none of us have ever heard of or seen. All right, so cup final. We're looking forward to the cup final. What are we expecting for the? Let's get serious. Big game coming up. Stephen, are you confident?
Yeah, I think you've got to be confident. Just like the run up to the last time we played them at Celtic Park a couple of weeks ago. Everyone was super confident, and you've got to think that maybe a little bit overconfident. Certainly going into this game, I don't think it will be a cakewalk like everybody is imagining it's going to be. I was reading through some of the threads on Kerrydale Street today, and there's people predicting 4 and 5-0 and that sort of thing. I don't think it will be that. I think it'll be much tighter than that. I think they obviously, this is their last chance to salvage anything from a bit of a disaster of a season. So they'll be fired up. They'll have more of the ball than they did at Celtic Park. We won't dominate possession as much as we did, and we'll have to do a little bit more defending. I know there's question marks over a lot of their players still injury-wise, so how they line up will very much depend on who's fit. But our team more or less picks itself. I had wondered if maybe we go back to the Nicholas Kuhn over James Forrest, just down to the fact that Alistair Johnson got a lot of trouble from Fabio Silva in the last game, and he could have done with help from the right winger, who at the time was James Forrest, and he just didn't have the engine to get up and down the park to help Alistair Johnson. And their goal came from him getting a double up with him and Barisic. So I had thought maybe Kuhn might get in front of Forrest, but Kuhn was awful again, I thought, at the weekend. And I think that kind of probably ruled him out of that. So I expect Forrest to start the game, but he is going to have to put in more of a defensive shift than he had to do at Celtic Park. So I think we'll win the game. I think we're just better than them. I think it's as simple as that. But I don't think it will be a hammering.
Well, they weren't very convincing in their game against Hearts. Did you see that the late goal that tied that game, Paul?
I very quickly watched the highlights the other day.
Nice finish.
It was a nice finish, but poor defending again in the box. I agree with Stephen for the most part. I think, it probably will be relatively tight. But there's a scud in it. There's a scudding due to them, and it could come. I can understand. I can understand where the confidence is coming from, because if it all clicks for us, especially early, like if Matt O'Reilly scores the penalty, if Matt O'Reilly scores the penalty in the home game just gone, we win by 4 or 5. And even without that, there was enough chances to run up a score. So it's absolutely within the bounds of possibility that could be the case. It's sort of, I kind of don't care. Any means necessary has been bandied around a lot in the last sort of 6-8 weeks. That's kind of how I feel about it. I'd love to see us absolutely scud them. There's a lot that potentially points to that. I cannot believe some of the dialogue and rhetoric coming out of Clement and that club in general with a cup final still to go. Like, Clement's at multiple points has said we need to clear the decks. There's going to be a lot of change. The fan base has been calling for Tav and Goldson to be gone for weeks. Like, how does that put them in a positive mindset? The only reason I think they can use that to galvanize is this is sort of your last chance saloon, go and do something. But I think a lot of them have sort of, the heads have gone, to be honest, and the Hearts collapse sort of proved that. And at these kind of times of the season, momentum's massive, and we talked a lot about that in the run-in, and it's all with us. The boys will be absolutely buzzing. The guys that didn't really play will be itching to get back in. And they all talked about it in the post-match interview. We'll enjoy today, but we're not done. There's a job still to get done. And it was great to hear them all on the same page in that. And yeah, I fully expect us to go and get the job done. But I really hope we absolutely run up a score. But as long as we win, I don't really care.
Well, as I say, confidence isn't high amongst the other lot, as this shows.
Well, why would it be?
Have it in them to beat Celtic this season and win the Scottish Cup? 3/4 almost said no. Jeez, that's...
Well, there's no evidence that shows. Obviously, played them 4 times and they're lucky to have got a draw.
Mm-hmm.
I think the big thing, the factor is that Brendan Rodgers clearly has their number. He clearly knows how to beat Rangers. He knows how to set up. And we're talking, several different lineups and formations he's used this season against them, and all of them have been effective. Even go back to, very early in the season where we went there with almost no one available and got the result. So, Brendan knows what to do. But, my only, the only caveat to that is, things, there's negative variance can come into play here. An early booking could get a guy sent off for Celtic. We could be down to 10 men or something like that. Or, set pieces. We've not been the best from set pieces. So, they can always nick a goal from a set piece, then just defend for their lives. So in a one-off game, anything can happen. And I'd love to see us handing out a scudding, but I just don't think it's going to happen.
I have a sneaky suspicion it might, but I just showed you a poll there among the Rangers fans. I've run my first ever Twitter poll this week. It's very exciting, and you got a little glimpse of it earlier.
It's preview.
This: is Celtic TV up to scratch? Stroke value for money. Yes, it's great. Fine, acceptable. Weak, not worth it. 586 votes. 1 day left. And you can see the results there. Over half saying it's weak, not worth it. But a third saying fine, acceptable. And 7% saying yes, it's great. This has sparked a debate among us. And don't know if you saw this in the watch along, but David has been talking to a friend of his that works in the industry and sports marketing and all sorts of things. He can't believe the trick that Celtic are missing with their worldwide fan base, why they aren't providing so much more and leveraging it. And, there's so many things they could do. He reckons Celtic are absolute dinosaurs when it comes to this sort of thing. So we might have him on for an interview and get him to give us examples of, other people that are doing it really well and what are the possibilities for this kind of thing. Because, Paul, you were saying this is like the season ticket for overseas fans.
Well, it is.
And we're getting very little value. It's
the equivalent of your season ticket. And I think that's the problem. Celtic treat it like a season ticket. You get, for your season ticket, you get access to walking in the stadium and sitting watching games. It's pretty much it, right? The opportunity to buy overpriced food and drinks and generally be treated pretty poorly. And the same goes for the Celtic TV subscription. Pay your money, get your games, that's it, piss off. It's really, really poor, particularly when, if it was at least reliable, you could sort of go, well, fair enough, we're treated the same as the paying punters through the gate. But it isn't. It's been down, particularly in big games. On the game against Killie the other night, it was down 3 or 4 times in the first half for me. I know other people it was even worse for. At 300 Aussie dollars, it's not cheap. And with cost of living crises all over the world, you can see why people are looking for alternative opportunities to get access to these games. Even just simple stuff like I turned it on at an hour before kickoff the other night, thinking, oh, well, we're getting them, they'll do something because it's the trophy day. Bugger all, nothing. Same as usual. Half an hour before the usual, crap being dribbled. They could have had it on way before. They could have shown the players arriving up the Celtic way with, coming down the bus and all of that. The trophy being walked up and all that other stuff. Zip. It wouldn't have taken them very much. Sky were probably on for over an hour before the kickoff. Why can we not? Why can they not just arrange to take that feed and show that with a bit of Peter Grant or whoever next, talking over it, which is hardly value for money. But I just think it's a really, really poor product. And yeah, I think people will, as a proliferation of dubious other methods to get access to games becomes more available, I think more fans will vote with their feet, and they'll you can't really blame folk because it's a lot of money for a piss poor product.
And for about the same amount of money, you can get a gazillion other things free, So yeah, it is. I mean, I think Stephen, are you kind of like me? You're sort of happy to be making a contribution as long as what you're getting is reasonable quality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I would love to know who the 7% of your poll were who think it's great. I mean, there got to be some. I'd love to know what their expectations are.
Well, they're the same. They must be the same people that think that we invest well in the squad, and this is as good as it can get, and all of that. And even the other 30% are much of that. This is as good as they've all been conditioned to have their expectations diminished, and that's about as good as it can get. It's poor. I agree with you.
Yeah, look, I'm happy to pay it. I kind of think of it like a Celtic tax. You have to pay it to make your contribution to the club. It's like buying jerseys direct from the official store when you could probably get them cheaper elsewhere from dubious Far East retailers, But for me, anything I buy from Celtic, regarding Celtic, I buy it from the official store, and to me, it's just making a contribution the small way I can from over here. But I take on board everything Paul says. It's a terrible product. Very poor, it's not reliable, and you've got to have a backup plan, and that's where the sort of dubious means come into for watching the game. You have to have that as a backup plan, because if you don't, then you're risking
a backup plan.
Yeah, you're sitting there risking watching a blank screen, watching score updates coming up in Twitter, and the game against Kilmarnock, as Paul alluded to there, that the stream went down multiple times in the first half, and I missed the first goal. I saw the first goal get in by a Twitter update. And it was, just appalling. A couple of years ago, you used to be able to get BN Sports over here on the Foxtel platform, and they had all the away games, and that was just reliable. You just switched it onto a TV channel, and it would be good if we could get something as reliable as that from Celtic TV. But you're never going to get anything approaching that, and it would be nice if it looked as if they were even trying, which it really doesn't.
The 7% of the ones that then go and watch Britain's Got Talent and reality TV. I mean, like 10% of any group of people are complete and utter morons. And every opinion they have is immediately worthy of being dismissed. Surely that's true.
That means at least one of us is a moron.
I go ahead.
No, well, you're the one if you can't work that out, yeah.
Yeah. There's not 10 of us on here. There's only Gav's just offended 7% of the people that have responded to his first poll. So
I'm just saying 70% of any group of society.
Fair enough. The 7% of idiots is basically what I heard you say.
I thought you were going to go and say something else there.
No.
Okay, so 54 minutes. We're looking forward to a big summer of spending, are we? Stephen, you take this one.
No. I'm looking forward to ad nauseum repeat of everything we've seen over the past few years. I mean, I've heard all this talk about this is the season. There was a few Twitter rumours from like the usual suspects flying around. I think some guy from The Athletic was leaking stuff that this is the year where we're going to spend big, and we're going to give Brendan the tools he needs to take the club forward. He's proved himself, so we're going to back him. But call me a cynic, but I've seen and heard this far too many times before to put any credence in it at all. For me, the issue is we still don't have the structure in place to spend money properly. And my worry is, the same people are still there. The same people are controlling the strategy of the club. We don't have a director of football. We haven't replaced the recruitment guy. We haven't replaced the Lowell Junior. And I'm just not sure we're correctly placed to be, this much vaunted taking us to the next level sort of thing. So I'm not. I hope I'm surprised, and I hope that this is the season where we finally show a bit of ambition. And we've got the upgraded Champions League to look forward to. So there's plenty of money coming in, and there isn't really an excuse for us to start being more realistic in what we're paying for players. But if you're asking me if I'm 100% sure that's going to happen, I'm certainly not.
Could we joke here in the comments? When is the window open? Answer, 12 hours before it closes. Very good. I just want to show that again, that John Hughes tweet. He's quoting the same thing that you quoted. The source is a guy from The Athletic. We're all dying for this to be true, but in nearly every previous year, these tactical rumours have served to keep us hopeful, happy, and divided until the truth becomes undeniable and we've been taken for mugs again. He's a good way with words, John Hughes, I have to say.
Pretty much sums it up, to be honest. Yeah, fool me once, fool me twice, fool me. Yeah, it's not just once, is it? We all kind of are hopeful. I kind of really hope that, that when we did all those contract extensions, I really thought that was us leveling up for bringing in players at a slightly higher starting point, but obviously it wasn't the case. So yeah, I will be suitably skeptical again until the names start flying around and we all get overexcited. But yeah, I'd like. We're definitely going to need to bring in new players. Obviously, we need a goalkeeper. We still need a left back. That hasn't changed. And the depth isn't there, as Stephen sort of said earlier. So, and as I said, I think we'll see some of those 9 that came in. I think we'll see some of them disappearing back out at the very least on loan. So we probably need to add 3 or 4 starting quality players, potentially more. But we'll see what that ends up looking like. But the cash is certainly there, so you'd certainly hope so. But I think that it's going to be on Rodgers, really, isn't it? Because there isn't the scouting network, really, as Stephen says, embedded. So who knows? Probably expect Bernardo to sign. Probably sign Ida. Wouldn't be surprised if you had to chuck a bid at Miovski. Now, you do that, you've probably spent 15 million.
Average Scottish goalkeeper. McKenna in on a free.
Yeah, I mean that's been that rumour's doing the rounds already. McKenna on a free, and you can talk yourself around to that being a half decent move, but it's probably not what you're looking for to take us to this mythical next level that everybody seems to be aiming for. And my problem is that if we really were, getting all our ducks in a row for a good crack at this transfer window, I think you would have heard some stuff by now. There'd be some rumours filtering around about Celtic approaching A, B, or C players, but everything's really quiet, and there's really not much at all being rumoured. So yeah, we'll see what happens basically, but not confident.
Okay, so a few little Celtic social media choices. This is yours, Stephen. Alan Thompson.
Yeah, I thought this was a funny one. If things weren't bad enough for the Rangers fans over the weekend, then you've got Alan Thompson taking their disappointment as an excuse to try and sell them some CBD oil. I had no idea that was Alan Thompson's latest career move, but good on him for sticking it into the Rangers fans with that one. So he's just saying that if any of them are struggling to sleep, he's got the very thing for them.
Very good. CBD oil. We've got a few little videos to play here. I'm not sure what they are until we see them. Well, I know what they are, but I don't know what order. Oh yeah, this is a thing that they do at ice hockey. People in this channel love a lookalike. Well, they find these lookalikes in the crowd. These are all lookalikes from Lord of the Rings. where they find someone, yeah, and they get progressively more insulting. Brian McClare. Stay to him. So that was quite amusing. This is you, Paul. There's no sound on this, so you can...
For lots of stupid nonsense that happens, but sometimes we get it right, and this was a really nice touch.
Mystery illness. I didn't know the story behind this. A wee 9-year-old boy.
I didn't go into it in full detail. I've not read tons and tons, but there was a bit clipped from the Courier, which is the local paper in Dundee and around there, just saying that it was only a fortnight after he became unwell. He passed away. So, and I think he only got to his first game a few weeks prior to becoming ill. So certainly this season. So real sad story, and thoughts with his family and friends, but great touch at the game by the referee and both sets of players and fans.
Yeah, very nice. I hope this next video is not tonally awkward. What is it? Oh, it's this.
Do you care how he plays for England in the Euros this summer? I'm not an England fan. I'm Irish. Good night.
So this is Noel Gallagher talking about Phil Foden after Manchester City match, and he was going on about what a good player he is and stuff. And then they asked him, "What do you think? Was he looking forward to seeing him play well for England in the Euros?" Can you hear the response? Hope it's loud enough.
Yeah, no, we heard it all right. Yeah, I saw that one.
You can hear it, but I don't know about the people.
Do you care how he plays for England in the Euros this summer? I'm not an England fan. I'm Irish. Good night. Do you care how he plays for England in the Euros this summer? I'm not an England fan. I'm Irish. Good night.
You enjoyed that, did you, Paul? Are you a fan of the
I am. I'm a big
Gallagher?
fan of the Chief. I'm a big fan of the Chief. Both his obviously his work with Oasis, but I'm a big fan of his solo stuff as well. So I do. He's always got a soundbite quite often at the wind up, but he's often talked about his considering himself Irish, and obviously this particular reporter hadn't done his homework. So yeah.
If you want
Not
a good laugh,
fan myself.
If you want a good laugh, go and read some of the comments under that interview, especially the original. I think it was a BBC interview, and you'll see some of the worst elements of British society revealing themselves. So we say, but get a laugh.
John Clement mentions a good thing. I don't know if you caught this. The Stranraer commentary at the end of their playoff match with East Kilbride, where he channels Margaret Thatcher, Clement Attlee. Your boys took one hell of a beating. And he just lists off.
Was that Kermit? Did Kermit do the commentary in that original game?
He wasn't Welsh, was he?
Or a green frog. I thought he was Norwegian or something, was he not?
That was prime Norwegian. That was East Norwegian. You just didn't pick it up.
Fair enough.
From the
I didn't see that.
So that is it. That is the season done, boys. That's our first season as a Celtic World. Looking back at it, Stephen, are you happy with what we've achieved?
Yeah, I think we've came on leaps and bounds. We've bucked through a few barriers. We've got a good number of regular commenters, and then we've got a good team of contributors. So got to be happy. It's good that we're closing the season with a trophy in the cabinet, and hopefully one more to come. So can't complain. And
Paul, how have you enjoyed your Celtic World journey this season?
I've thoroughly enjoyed it. And yeah, it's similar to Stephen. Thanks to everyone who tunes in to listen to our shit every week. And for all the contributions and obviously sharing and liking and all of that sort of stuff. It kind of feels mad that we've only been doing this for the season, because it certainly feels like a lot longer. And maybe that's what this season has done to us. It's certainly added a few grey hairs to me. I'm grateful that it hasn't started to go the way of Gav. So, small mercies. But yeah, it's been a cracking season. If I had one sort of minor grumble, it's that as things sort of got serious around the turn of the year, the musical nonsense sort of faded into the background. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if Gav's decided now that he's got a bigger following, he doesn't want to dabble in such nonsense. But hopefully that's planned for the new season.
I'm sure over the summer there's going to be a whole plethora of songs penned.
I'm disappointed you didn't make reference to the Bluebells planning to release a Joe Hart tribute. Gav, obviously stealing your idea.
Well, you saw I tweeted about that, did you?
Yeah. I thought we were going to mention that tonight, and maybe a replay of the original.
I wanted Bobby Bluebell to know that if he wanted to use my lyrics, especially tailored for the moment, that he was welcome to, and I wouldn't charge him.
I think your lyrics are excellent. Your vocals are somewhat not quite.
Yeah, the vocals are a bit shaky. Sometimes, it's funny how after a period of time elapses and you listen back, you think, fuck, that was shit. Whereas at the time, I was really pleased with how I hit the notes.
Were you really?
Anyway. Yeah, fuck you.
He's been on that to lure them all.
Well, look, from one artist to another, let's give Jerry Taylor a shout out. His show. He says he's got 1 week to sell 100 tickets, or he has to pull his show, which is on in Kilmarnock in July, I think. A night of comedy featuring various others, including that face you'll probably all recognise. You see that?
Actually, my dad's from Kilmarnock, and I'm from just down the road. So if I'd been living at home, I'd definitely have been to that. So I hope it's a success. I really do.
Yeah, it'd be worth going along to that for a bit of crack. All right. Well done, everyone. We'll be back we're going to do Monty's asking, surely a post-cup final show? Absolutely. We're not going away just yet. We're going to be doing a watch-along, a drink-along for the cup final. Today's Monday.
Yeah, we'll be on Thursday, are we?
We'll be on Thursday for a proper preview of the cup final. I'm back again on Monday. And then we might take a week off, I think. But over the course of the summer, we're going to be doing weekly shows, I suspect every Thursday rather than Monday. And, we're going to have some interesting guests and features and stuff like that. So it'll be quite good. There's always going to be a little bit of transfer speculation to talk about. But we're not just going to go making up a load of nonsense just to fill the airwaves. It will, as ever, remain high-quality entertainment, completely free, and we're not trying to sell you anything. Not yet, anyway. So,
few more likes and subscribes before we can flog you something.
Lazy bastards, says Paddy Lavery. Well, because we're going back to doing one free show for everyone a week.
Well, no, I think probably because we've taken the week off. I would say it's probably
taking the week off. How dare we? All right, gents. Well done. Thank you for everyone in the comments. Thank you for you guys. See you in a few days' time for the Cup Final preview show. Until then, all the very best till you.